Imagine waking up tomorrow with perfect memory, unlimited intelligence, and a body that could live for centuries. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the promise of transhumanism. The movement arguing that humanity should use technology not just to heal our bodies, but to transform them, to become something more than human. What happens when the boundary between human and machine blurs beyond recognition? When we can edit our genetic code like software, upload our consciousness to the cloud, or replace our organs with superior artificial versions? We stand at the precipice of the most profound transformation in human history, one that challenges our very understanding of what it means to be human. Today we dive into the philosophical rabbit hole of transhumanism, examining not just what we could become, but what we might lose in the process. We'll explore why some of the greatest minds of our time are both excited and terrified by these possibilities, and why the decisions we make in the coming decades might reshape humanity forever. The transhumanist movement isn't unified, but at its core lies a simple belief. Human beings can and should transcend their biological limitations through technology. Consider the technologies already within our grasp. Brain-computer interfaces that allow paralyzed patients to control computers with their thoughts. CRISPR gene editing that can rewrite our DNA, artificial organs created in labs. Look at how you already extend your natural capabilities. Your smartphone functions as an external memory bank. Your computer multiplies your computational abilities. Your car enhances your speed and strength. Transhumanists simply ask, why keep these enhancements external? Why not integrate them directly into our bodies and minds? The philosopher Nick Bostrom suggests that human enhancement represents the continuation of a process that began when our ancestors first used tools. We've always been self-modifying creatures, always reaching beyond our natural limitations. In this view, transhumanism isn't a radical break from humanity, but the next logical step in our evolution. Think about how we already accept certain forms of enhancement without question. We don't consider someone with glasses or a hearing aid to be less human. We celebrate the artificial hearts and prosthetic limbs that extend lives and restore function. The transhumanist simply moves the goalposts, asking why we should limit ourselves to merely restoring normal function when we could exceed it. Why settle for 20/20 vision when we could see ultraviolet light? Why accept natural lifespans when we might live for centuries? Why be content with human intelligence when we could become vastly smarter? But as we consider these possibilities, profound philosophical questions emerge. If you replace your biological parts one by one with superior artificial versions, at what point do you cease to be human? This is not merely the ancient ship of Theseus paradox in modern form, but a question about the essence of humanity itself. Consider consciousness, that mysterious first-person experience of being. If we could upload your mind to a computer, would that digital copy really be you, or merely a sophisticated simulation, lacking the ineffable quality of subjective experience? The philosopher David Chalmers calls this the hard problem of consciousness, and transhumanism pushes it to its breaking point. There's also the matter of identity continuity. Imagine a scenario where your consciousness is gradually transferred to a digital substrate. You remain conscious throughout the process, experiencing yourself simultaneously as biological and digital, until the biological component is finally switched off. Is the resulting digital mind still you? Has death been cheated or merely disguised? The philosopher Derek Parfit explored similar questions with his thought experiments about teleportation. If you were disintegrated and perfectly reconstructed elsewhere, would the reconstructed person be you? What if the original wasn't destroyed? Would there suddenly be two yous? These weren't just idle philosophical musings in Parfit's time, but with transhumanist technologies, they could become practical dilemmas in our lifetime. Then there's the nature of emotion and embodiment. The philosopher Martha Nussbaum argues that our emotions are not just mental states, but embodied experiences tied to our biological nature. If we enhance or transfer ourselves to non-biological substrates, would we still feel the same emotions? Would we still experience love, fear, or joy in recognizably human ways? Or would we become something else entirely? Something that thinks but doesn't feel as we do? Beyond these metaphysical questions lie urgent social concerns. Who will have access to enhancement technologies? If only the wealthy can afford to enhance themselves and their children, we risk creating a two-tiered society more divided than anything in human history. Imagine a world split between the enhanced and the merely natural, a genetic aristocracy with capabilities far beyond ordinary humans. The philosopher Michael Sandel argues that such enhancements threaten the moral fabric of society. When achievement becomes increasingly tied to technological enhancement rather than effort or character, the basis for moral equality erodes. Will we still feel solidarity with those less capable than ourselves? Will we still value the dignity of unenhanced human life? Consider the implications for parenthood and reproduction. If genetic enhancement becomes possible, will parents feel obligated to design their children? Will natural conception come to be seen as negligent, even abusive? The philosopher Jürgen Habermas warns that genetic enhancement could transform the parent-child relationship, turning children into products manufactured according to parental specifications rather than persons accepted unconditionally. There's also the matter of risk. The technologies that could enhance humanity could also destroy it. Artificial superintelligence, nanotechnology, and genetic engineering all carry existential risks. As the philosopher Toby Ord points out, we're entering a period of unprecedented technological power, but not necessarily unprecedented wisdom. Before we continue exploring these profound questions, I want to take a moment to ask you to support this channel. If you're finding value in these philosophical journeys, please consider subscribing. Your subscription helps these ideas reach more people, and I promise to keep delivering thought-provoking content that challenges your perspective. Let's continue our exploration. Perhaps the most fundamental question transhumanism raises is whether there is such a thing as human nature at all. For centuries, philosophers have debated whether humans possess an essential nature, some set of characteristics that makes us uniquely human. Transhumanists like Max Moore argue that there is no fixed human nature, only a transitional phase in an ongoing evolutionary process. Others like Francis Fukuyama counter that human nature exists and provides the foundation for human dignity and human rights. If we transform ourselves beyond recognition, we risk undermining the very basis of our moral systems. After all, our moral intuitions evolved to regulate relationships between biological humans, not enhanced post-humans with godlike capabilities. But there's another perspective. What if the drive to transcend limitations is itself the essence of humanity? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, or overman, who would transcend conventional morality and create new values. Perhaps the transhumanist project represents not the abandonment of humanity, but its ultimate fulfillment, the final expression of our creative self overcoming. Consider how our understanding of what is natural for humans has evolved throughout history. For most of human existence, living past 40 was rare, dying from minor infections common, and travelling faster than a horse could run impossible. We have already radically transformed the natural human condition, and few would argue we should return to our pre-technological state. The philosopher Peter Sloterdijk suggests that humans have always been self-domesticating creatures. We've used culture, education, and technology to shape ourselves, to tame our instincts and enhance our capabilities. In this light, transhumanism represents not a break with the past, but an acceleration of processes that have been underway since the dawn of civilization. Yet there remains something unsettling about the prospect of engineering ourselves. The bioethicist Leon Kass speaks of the wisdom of repugnance, suggesting that our instinctive discomfort with certain forms of enhancement might contain wisdom that our rational minds have yet to articulate. Perhaps there are aspects of our humanity that we value precisely because they aren't chosen or designed, but given to us by nature or chance, our vulnerability, our mortality, our struggle against limitations. As we reach the end of our exploration, we find ourselves with more questions than answers. Transhumanism represents both tremendous promise and profound peril. The technologies that could liberate us from disease, aging, and cognitive limitations could also undermine the foundations of human equality and dignity. Perhaps wisdom lies not in wholesale embracing or rejecting transhumanist visions, but in carefully distinguishing between enhancements that preserve our humanity and those that might erase it. As the philosopher Hans Jonas argued, when the stakes involve the very nature of humanity, caution becomes a moral imperative. The coming decades will require us to make decisions of unprecedented significance. We will need to develop new ethical frameworks, new social institutions, and perhaps even new conceptions of what it means to be human. The philosopher Donna Haraway suggests that we should embrace the ambiguity of our increasingly hybrid existence, learning to thrive in the borderlands between human and machine, nature and artifact. What's certain is that these questions are too important to be left to scientists and engineers alone. They require the wisdom of philosophy, the insights of the humanities, and the engaged participation of citizens from all walks of life. The future of humanity is too important to be decided by a small elite, whether corporate, governmental, or academic. So I leave you with this question. If you could enhance any aspect of your physical or mental capabilities beyond normal human limits, would you? And more importantly, at what point would you fear losing something essential about yourself in the process? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation together, because these questions may soon move from philosophy to reality.